seen this shit? You probably didn't, because I just seen it as I got done with my morning run. But come on, let's sit down and take a look at this shit, see what's going on here. Now, a lot of y'all think that cutting property taxes in the state of Florida is actually a good thing, when in actuality, it might be one of the worst things that could happen in the state of Florida, especially if you're one of those people that use government services or complain about what the government's supposed to do. Now, how the fuck they supposed to do stuff if you're cutting their paycheck? Just stay with me for a moment. Stay with me for a moment. A Florida judge just ruled that the property tax amendment is misleading and orders the attorney general to rewrite the whole goddamn thing. Just think about that. A judge, a Republican judge at that, has said that a piece of Republican legislation is misleading and needs to be rewritten before it can be placed on the November ballot for you to vote on. As is written, it seems as if it's a political slogan. As it's written, it seems as if it's a benefit to you as the homeowner, as a property owner. But in reality, it's hiding a lot of problems. So much so that you got FDLE and the Florida Sheriff's Association and different law enforcement agencies across the state of Florida coming out in mass now saying, hey, they're concerned about this. You got the Brevard County Sheriff openly saying, hey, this is going to cut your police services. You got the Key West Sheriffs asking questions like, hey, you know, we could still respond to calls, but what about our air ambulance service? You know, we operate this air ambulance and we don't really have funding in our regular budget for this. And, you know, the funding for this comes from, you know, additional funds. And if those additional funds are cut, then how are they going to operate an air ambulance in Key West, an area where there's a lot of islands, and the necessity for a helicopter to be able to fly and pick you up and take you to the hospital is very much needed. These are the types of services that are being talked about being cut. You got sheriffs saying, hey, these cuts will lead to longer police response times. Imagine you getting robbed, or better yet, somebody doing you something even worse, and the police are called, and they say, hey, well, you know, we truly understand what you're going through, but it's going to take us about an hour to get the person out there. These are the types of things that are going to happen if property taxes are cut. Any way, shape, or form. And I know people like say, oh, we're just going to increase the... Stop splitting hairs. You have a judge in the state of Florida that read this shit and said, hey, this is misleading to the citizens of Florida. This is not a good thing. People love to say, oh, well, they all. I need y'all to stop saying they all and look at the party that are actually doing the bullshit. This is Republican-led legislation that's going to negatively impact the entire state. We continuously have trends of Democratic leadership getting in office, and, you know, our economy and our country just goes fucking to new heights. And the Republicans come in office and fuck everything up. I'm not just talking shit. This is what happens time and time again. The great free state of Florida, where nobody can afford to live. And I don't want to cut property taxes, which is going to increase your cost of living. And let's talk about the elephant in the room. The majority of individuals will benefit from property tax cuts are the property owners. We got a lot of renters and leasers and people shacking up with other motherfuckers in the state of Florida. So these cuts in property taxes, while they'll benefit property owners, only about 46% of the state is property owners. So almost half of the state of Florida won't benefit from this at all. But your cost of living will increase because of this. I don't know what to say, y'all. People need to pay attention to what's going on, and not just during election season. I don't know how long I've been saying property tax cuts or any type of cuts to property tax is going to be a bad thing. And people sit there trying, what about, what? What y'all got to understand is that little justification that you're trying to figure out in your brain, that politician ain't think about that. That politician is not even nowhere near talking about that. They're talking about what's in front of your face, what's put on that paper. That's why the Florida judge said, hey, this shit is misleading. This isn't telling the people the true impact of what will happen if this passes. This is trying to paint a rosy picture that says, hey, well, we're just going to increase your allowance, your exclusions. And it leaves out what's the real impact of that. We've seen that last year with the medical marijuana legislation and the abortion legislation. Stay woke, people. This is election season. They're going to put stuff in front of your face that's going to sound peachy and rosy and make you feel good. But think about this. When in your life has someone told you something that made you just feel so good and relaxed and like, oh my God, oh, this is great. And that shit actually went that way. I'm just saying.